Hello there, Erin here. I have a double page scrapbook layout for you today, and I'm going to show you how to make a custom title that works beautifully with your layout design. We're going to do that in Cricut Design Space, but let's go ahead and get started on the layout first. I am excited to get started on this project. This is my husband and my oldest son, Hayden, and they are starting renovations on a house we bought last January. So they're ripping out the carpet. This is like demolition day, just taking out all the flooring. Here they are having a lunch break. The gorgeous view is my favorite part about this house. It was built in the 70s, so you can kind of see that 70s flavor in this photo. We always have DIY projects going on, so when I saw this Trusty Tools Stampin' Die Set, this was a must-have for my collection. That's a little wrench I cut from silver foil paper left over, but tons of dies in here and then stamps. You can do some really cool things. Lots of variety in that set. I picked up this Trusty Tools paper in the last chance section for $2. Unfortunately, it's no longer available, but don't forget to check out that last chance section. You can score some really great deals. The Country Woods wood grain paper pack would be an excellent choice for any type of DIY type photos, so something to keep in mind. This is gray granite cardstock. I'm using this for my background. You can see in my photos there's lots of grays, blues, we've got some tans, kind of a neutral color palette here. So I am going to arrange these like this, going across the layout. We can go ahead and narrow down our paper selection. We have lots of options here, lots of different colorways in this paper pack. Ooh, I like the red. Red and blue and gray. I think that's very masculine. Definitely like that one. This one has kind of like little screws and bolts. This is like a grid graph style paper. And then I really like the one with the yellow tape measures there. Now this paper does look good with the photo. This is Cajun Craze. And you can see it does look nice, but I think I want to go with the red and I don't necessarily like those together. So let's go with these four here. I already have a layout design in mind. I want to use a lot of different pattern papers here, so sometimes just bringing them in strips is a great way to incorporate them without it getting overly busy. So the red paper on the bottom and the yellow are kind of the most vivid, visually demanding colors. So I'm separating those with the more neutral in the middle. And I think that looks good. I want a frame style layout, but I'm scooting these over so I can kind of use the measurements on my Versamat here to determine how tall I want each of those pieces. I want to make this a frame style layout, so all of my paper strips are cut to 11.5. That way we're going to have a 1/2 inch border around the top, outer edge, and the bottom. The yellow paper is 2 inches tall. The graph paper is 3 3/4. The nuts and bolts is 3.5, and the screwdriver red paper on the bottom is 1 3/4. And I did overlap them a little bit just to have that 1/2 inch border on the top and bottom. I selected a coordinating gray ink. This is gray granite, and I'm going to ink up all of the edges, not just the outside perimeter, but I'll do the inner pieces of all of these different pattern papers as well. Embellishing this layout is going to be very fun. I used the dies from the Trusty Tools, and I cut a toolbox here from the Country Woods wood grain paper pack. And then we have all of these fun tools. So I am going to, this one was already cut. It's the little wrench. I die cut that from silver foil paper, but we also have a bunch of stamps here. So I'm just selecting a few of those. Sorry, I'll get back into the frame here in just a moment. I'm scrapbooking at my sister-in-law's house, so then my setup's a little bit different. I'm using a alcohol marker friendly ink to ink these up because I'm going to be coloring them in. So we've got the hammer, and then this is a little tape measure, so cute. Let's use this one here. We've got a wrench, and there's a paintbrush. I mean, there's so many different things on this stamp set. Now the little tape measure actually has like an inner portion you can stamp. So I'm grabbing that, and this is Poppy Parade, which is the red color of that screwdriver paper down on the bottom. In addition to using the Country wood grain paper
for this layout, if you don't have this paper pack, you could use all of these stamps and make like a random stamped background to create your own tool paper. You can see the filler for the paintbrush here. A lot of them do have the filler stamps, just like I used with the tape measure. But I'm going to go ahead and color these in with my Stampin' Blend markers. So I've got Poppy Parade, Gray Granite, Pecan Pie, and that is, I think, Daffodil. Daffodil Delight is the yellow. So you can see shading marks on the stamp image where the artist has incorporated those in. So I just add a little shadowing to those shading marks. And then we're going to use the gray granite for the upper portion of the hammer here. I really don't get too concerned with, lighting and effect. I think it just looks nice when you add varying colors because it just makes them look a little bit more dimensional when you have this shading. So sometimes I try to get, professional and think about where the light source is coming from and all that good stuff. And other times I'm like, let's just add a little shading here and there and call it a day. My husband's grandparents built this home back in the 70s, and this was where they lived. So every day after school, my husband and his sisters would, spend a few hours at grandma's house waiting for their parents to get home from work. So lots of childhood memories for my husband here. And his grandfather passed away. My in-laws inherited the house, and we have since purchased the house from them. I don't know what's in store for this long term, but it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. So we are currently restoring this house. We do not have plans of moving here. It's actually right down the street from my current home, but who knows? Maybe my children will end up buying the house from us. It'll, like I said, it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. And my husband is very handy. And I just think of all the learning opportunities for my boys because they are helping him on this journey. And these are invaluable skills, right? And I'm so glad he has the opportunity to pass down all of these handyman abilities. I am looking for a pattern paper to map my photos. I don't want anything busy. I just want a pop of color. This is Lost Lagoon, and it's not what I'm looking for. I want something more blue. My crafty friend Jody, she is a Creative Memories advisor. She sent me this paper pack as a gift, and I love it. It has this kind of blueprint paper, and it's the perfect blue. So I think I'm going to use that. It's a subtle pattern, and it goes beautifully. Now, again, Country Woods. If you have this paper pack, it would be an excellent choice, and that would have worked really well, but I thought, why not use the gift Jody sent me? I pulled a bunch of stamps from my stash. These are all old Close to My Heart stamps, and I don't know if I'll use all of these, but they all kind of coordinate with the layout. But for now, let's work on our title. We are on a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space. So in order to create my title, I need to have the basic structure of my scrapbook layout. So let's go over to Shapes on the left-hand side, and we are going to select a square. Now the photo on the left is 4x4. So we will turn this into a 4x4 shape. And then right next to it, we have a 4x6. So I am just going to duplicate this particular square and unlock it so we can change that to a 4x6. So those are sitting approximately like this next to each other. But then my 4x6 has a 5x7 photo mat. So we need to take that into account. So let's go ahead and turn this into a 5x7. So we have the actual footprint. And then I'm going to drag my photo mat on top here. Let's go ahead and make that white just so we can see the difference. So my layout, I'm just eyeballing it. We don't need it exactly, but this is approximately how it's sitting. I have the two photos in line, and then my 5x7 mat extends below that just a bit. So to create our title, we want to go back over to the left-hand side and select text. So this gives me a little text box, and my title is going to read Old Bones, New Beginnings. So we've got Old Bones here, and I already went ahead and selected a font, and it is called DIN Condensed, D-I-N Condensed. Let's see if we can get that to pop up. Maybe it was a system font. Let me look under my system here. Fonts are fun. There it is, DIN Condensed. I thought this was a nice masculine font, and this is definitely a masculine layout, so that's why I'm going with this one. So I want this to, fill this space. So we are going to stretch that to approximately the size or the width of my 4x6 photo. And now let's go ahead and duplicate this up here. There's a plus sign. You can click that or Command D. And this way it's in the exact same font. And this one is going to say New Beginnings. So we will just type out New Beginnings. And there is some space in my photo on my layout right down here that's open. And I do enjoy connecting my title to my, overlapping my embellishments, overlapping things, connecting them to the photo. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that so we can get the full effect. Let's turn this a lighter gray so we can see the contrast between the title and the background there. So for my New Beginnings, we're going to go ahead and that's just about right there. So I am basically trying to frame in this section here so that it wraps with my photo design. So I'm liking how that looks, but what we're going to do next, I'm going to use the print and cut feature to create this title rather than cutting it out. So I've got my title selected here. Actually, we're going to select both of them. So we have selected both aspects of the title. Now let's go up to offset, which is right here, and we're going to create like a shadow background. So it defaults to 0.25, but that's pretty big. I don't know if you can see that outline there. That's a big outline. I tend to drop it down to usually about 0.9. There are some times that would vary depending on the design. 0.1, 0.9, just somewhere around there. So I like the way that looks. Let's just make that a little bigger. Okay, perfect. So we're going to click apply, and this is going to turn the background black. I want that to be white. So I'm going up to my color option here, and we're creating a white background. Now, if you look right here in this little area above the N, it is cutting, there's a cutout there. I don't really want that, so I'm going to go down to the lower right corner, click contour, and you can kind of see it right there. If you just select that, it gets rid of it. Some of those smaller areas, the Cricut doesn't like to cut them and it ends up just looking like a snag. So now it's going to eliminate that particular cut, and you can see there it's gone. So now we have our old bones, new beginnings. Now I want to turn my text blue. So I've clicked on the text here. Let's go up and we'll just select a nice blue color. And then we're going to select new beginnings and turn it that same color. Because again, if you were cutting this out, it wouldn't matter what color it is on the screen. Your color would depend on what cardstock you're putting into your Cricut machine. But I am printing and cutting this. Now you could, cut these out and layer all of these pieces over the background, but it's much faster and I like the look well enough to just have it be easy and use print and cut. So I'm very happy with this. Old is going to be a separate word. You can see those are not connected with the offset, and neither is new and beginnings. Those are separate, but you'll see the bones and new, these were close enough. So when the offset was applied, it connected those together, but I actually quite like that. So we are going to leave it. So let's go ahead and select everything I've got over here. I'm using Shift and I'm selecting, we have both new beginnings, old bones, and the offset. So in order to use print and cut, we need to flatten this. I want you to just take note up here under operation. Right now it says basic cut, which means it's telling the Cricut we're going to cut out those pieces. So let's go ahead and just hit make it, just so you can kind of see what that will look like on your Cricut mat here. So we just need to select a mat, and you can see it's got my photo shapes on there. Here's the background, that outline we created. It would just be the white background. And then if we go down to the blue, you can see the text. It would cut that out. We'd have to glue those letters one by one to the background. I don't want to do that. We're going to click cancel. And then let's go ahead and just select everything over in our panel again, pertaining to the title. And now go down to the lower right-hand corner and click flatten. Now you'll notice up here it's grayed out, but it no longer says basic cut. It says print then cut. We do not need these photo placeholders here. Those were just to design our title to make sure we could see how it worked with the layout and to have our size correct. So now we just have our title. So if we go click make, it's going to look much different. You can see it is on a piece of paper here, which is 8.5 by 11. You do have to use 8.5 by 11 for print and cut, and it is showing you where it's going to position it there. So now we can click continue, and then we want to send this to our printer. So we're going to do this right here, send it to printer. And it is going to, it's got sensor marks around it, which will help the Cricut line this up and cut it properly. So it is just for cut sensor marks, and directional arrow will be printed with your design to aid in cut accuracy. So that's what that's all about. Just hit next. Now, I don't want the add bleed because we already have an offset. So this just gives a little bit more room around the image for margin of error, if you will. But when you use an offset, you really don't need the add bleed. So I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm also going to turn on use system dialog, which is going to allow me to adjust my printer settings, which will be different depending on the printer you have. So let's go ahead and hit print. Now, if your print dialog box doesn't show up, chances are it's in the background here. So just move your Cricut screen out of the way and you can see this here. So now on this screen, you can select your printer. This is my Epson PictureMate 400. That's not going to work. That's my photo printer, and it only prints up to a 5x7. So it would not be compatible anyway, even if we wanted to print to that one. So I'm going to select my other printer, which is showing offline because I haven't turned it on yet. So paper size, I do need to select letter size. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, and then you can adjust the quality. So I like to feed this from the rear tray. Media type, I use, it doesn't have a cardstock setting, but I'll put it on photo paper matte. And make sure your quality is best, which it generally automatically does that when you are when you select photo paper. And I do print this directly on cardstock. So we're going to go ahead and print. After printing, the next step is to run it through your Cricut and cut it out. So you can see it's printed it with these sensor marks. Again, that is what the Cricut will use to read. It'll read those using a light and then know exactly where to cut this. So let's go ahead and just put this in our Cricut and cut it out. I also want to mention my really good friend Jama recently shared a video full of custom title tips. Where to find those for free, the different fonts on dafont.com, how to download them, and then even a cool website where you can test your title and see it in all the different fonts to decide which one is the right look for your layout. So I'll list her video in the description box below so you can check that out as well. Okay, moment of truth here. This should fit right into place because we designed it around the size of the photos in Design Space. And I love having that offset because it just makes it stand out against the background and it's so easy to adhere. I love it. It's perfect. Before adding further embellishments, I need to consider my journaling. Now, this is an open spot that would lend itself well, but I don't like starting my layout with journaling. Let's go ahead and put this embellishment cluster over there, and then we can use this spot for the journaling. I think of a layout design similar to how you would read a book. You would read a book left to right, top to bottom, so that's why I don't want my journaling kind of being the first thing that you look at. So Let's mat these two photos just to help them stand out a bit more on some blue paper. These are 3x4s, so I cut a mat for both of them there. Now, I don't have a whole lot of journaling to say, so I think it'll fit on this tag, and I have an idea here. Looking at one of my stamp sets, it says Home Makeover, and I'm like, well, that's perfect. So I'm going to stamp that out and cut it out with a tag. We've got Poppy Parade for my matching red, and you can see here on this stamp, you can mix and match the phrases. So we will stamp Home and then Makeover. This will be kind of a subtitle, if you will. And the reason why I don't have a ton of journaling for this layout is because there will be lots of layouts to tell this story. It will probably end up getting its own album, so I don't need to put the entire story of this house on one page. I just am breaking it down to what was specifically going on this day in these photos. So let's go ahead and stack these. I've got black ink for the word home. I used again, Poppy Parade for makeover. Now we can grab a tag die, and I'll run this through my die cutting machine. And then I did the same for my journaling. I typed that up and printed it on cardstock and then cut it out with the same tag die. So we'll kind of stack those in there. And I like how you see that little pop of red in each corner. Now this is a really cool die. I cut it out using silver foil paper. It kind of creates a pegboard that you can put the tools on, but I just want this for a layering piece over here. I think it's a really fun little detail. So I'm liking that. I also die cut and assembled this little drill here. So that is using the coordinating dies, and you can see this is the drill. You have the little drill bit. I cut that from silver foil paper. And now this little piece on the handle, I actually think that's for the tape measure, but I thought it made a cool little handle detail for the drill. So I went with it, but I do think it is for the tape measure. So I wanted a pop of yellow down here. We've got that big bold yellow at the top, and I wanted to carry that elsewhere on the layout. Let's switch some of these tools around here. Let's go ahead and just assemble this. I'm putting adhesive around the very bottom and the sides so that I can tuck my little tools in here. We can go ahead and glue the handle down because the tools will be over the top of the handle. DIY layouts are really fun. I love seeing the progression in the photos, and it's fun to look back on what it looked like before. My husband and my younger son, Clayton, are currently restoring a horse trailer. It was supposed to be a really quick job. They were just going to replace some of the rusted out spots and reinforce it with, reinforce the welds, but it's turned into a complete overhaul. It's not even going to look like the same horse trailer. So I've been taking photos of that process too, and it'll be fun to tell that story. This little saw blade was fussy cut from the pattern paper, but I thought it'd be a nice little layering piece. Now looking at this, I feel like I need a little yellow over here. I fussy cut a level from the pattern paper. That fits perfectly like it was made for it. Do you see how that just kind of balances that color? Now you have the yellow in 3 different places. We also have bits of the red carried around. Now this one here is a really old stamp set. There is a sentiment on here that says no pain, no gain. And I want a little bit of, more elements in that lower right hand corner. I like adding word phrases. I think those are a fun go-to that always add a little interest to your embellishment clusters. So I stamped that on a piece of white paper, and that's a little crooked, so I'm flipping my paper over. Let me just trim that flush. This was a scrap, so it's kind of wonky. Let's try that again. Again, I'm sorry, I'm kind of off camera a little bit here. We'll stamp that, lining it up with the top, and then I think I just want to leave enough room to put a little banner tail in the end of that. So we'll snip it, give that a little trim, and then I like my banner tail kind of on the outside edge. So for this embellishment cluster, it will be on the left-hand side. Maybe if we tuck this under here, under the saw blade, so it's kind of coming out. I don't know if I like that, but let's go ahead and put a banner tail in, cutting up from the center and then each corner, and then maybe we'll try tucking it under the drill. I can already tell you I like that placement better. Now I have these little trinkets. They are from the Take to the Sky, and they have a masculine feel to them. They look like little bolts, and these will be perfect for finishing off my tag toppers here. Now there's some little holes in the toolbox that you could put brads in, but I'm just going to put one of these in each corner to add a little detailing to that. And then maybe some in the lower corner here. I don't know. Maybe less is more. Let's just leave those off the corner for now. Let me hold this up for you so you can see all the fun details. My husband is actually holding a yellow drill, which I modeled the embellishment after, so I thought that was kind of fun. Love the little layering bits here, and the view, isn't that gorgeous? Really excited about this project. It's going to take a while, but we're just working on it when we can. And you got to dig the blue shag carpet, right? And that cool light fixture. Actually, I do think the light fixture is kind of fun. Everything I use that is still available is in the description box below, along with a link to Jama's video. And if you are looking for more masculine layout ideas, definitely watch these videos right here.